everybody knows what they're watching and what they're listening for throughout the evening. So first and foremost, we're going to be using thermal imaging throughout the night. Cool. So why would I want thermal imaging inside of a ghost hunt?
Because they don't do heat.
Right, they do cold. Right, you're both kind of half right. So together you got a correct answer. So we're literally looking for cold spots in this. You guys should be able to see me in there. I'm the red, orange, and yellow guy, so I'm not a ghost. It also means I'm the hottest thing inside the picture. Sorry, fellas. So, but that's just the way that works. Mostly ladies. I got to play to my strengths here, guys. Sorry. The wife hates that. So, at any rate, we are literally looking for blue and black spots that either take shape or move on their own. The cool thing about this camera is this is a FLIR. This is what firemen use to actually help save people. Like, this is the real deal. So, basically, we're going to be looking for those blue spots, but there's going to be a blue dot bouncing around the screen if y'all can see that. It's going to give us the coldest spot in the frame at that particular moment. So a lot of it should be around my shoulders because obviously I'm going to be much warmer than the air temperature. So that blue dot will be in your video. You will get the full video back of this. We will do a few starts and stops on this just because as great as the hardware is, the software for it sucks. If we record for too long, we will lose a little bit of footage. So again, we don't want to lose any footage at all. We want to capture as much as we possibly can. Does this capture something every single night? No. But if we're not recording, we're not going to capture anything. So at that being said, we're going to go to the, I'm losing names. Brian and Jimmy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want you fellas. I should get those right. So, you're going to hold that horizontal all night long. Your finger is right in front of the lens. Good job. Left hand. Perfect.
Yeah, you're right.
So, your camera, even when I tell you to stop it and restart it back up again, make sure you're in horizontal position before you hit the record button.
Okay.
With the camera to your left. Otherwise, the video will be upside down or sideways, and then, well, it's not like they already have your phone number. So,
right.
I'm guessing at least.
You hope so.
I know, right?
I might have it saved.
Might have it saved. The next camera.
Is that going to
No.
It looked like it.
Yeah.
So a quick demo with this guy. It is a good question. It does look a little Ghostbustery, right? So you should not be able to see me in that camera. It's pretty small. It's a little tiny GoPro. It's a pretty black screen. Let's turn on some lights that we can actually see me. So I just lit up 10 infrared lights, so that way we can actually see everything around us. These are lights that we cannot see with our own eyes.
Oh,
so
that is cool.
Literally,
Yeah, that's
it's
really
emitting
cool.
10 lights around us.
That's trippy.
Yeah, that's actually really dope. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, we are actually going to go one step further with this.
Oh.
So,
Are we gonna make it shoot lasers?
actually, we are.
Oh, uh-huh.
As a matter of fact,
Seriously?
we are. So, the hope with this guy is because we're working with lights we can't see with our own eyes, that we're going to be able to see something we normally would not be able to see with our own eyes. This is an upgrade. Like, this is literally 2 weeks old to the tour. So this thing has been phenomenal. I will say I've pretty much caught at least one orb out of almost every single tour since I've had this come out. So because we have a full group tonight, we are going to be bringing out the lasers with this. So good call on that. She thought I was joking around. Just because you seemed a little fascinated with this. So
It's pretty cool.
it is. You're going to handle that right there.
Okay, right here like this.
Yeah,
You want
it is
that
heavy.
one, Leslie?
Okay. Do I have to do anything with it?
Nope.
So, is there a way? I mean, obviously there's a way, but is it like, how hard is it to differentiate like orbs and dust and like particles in the air?
There's a whole set of criteria that I go through frame by frame to see how things take shape, their speed, their shape. Yep. That's why I take a curbside.
Didn't see that guy behind him.
Nope, and it's not going into a parking spot, just so you guys know. Yep, yeah, that's not a
I
spot.
bet you he's over there.
He's gonna hit the people behind him.
Yeah, he's literally about to hit the people behind him.
And going to the river.
Welcome to Charles City.
I know, right?
Oh, the white
down
man
everybody
is
down there.
gonna drive.
He'll figure that out soon enough. Especially when somebody turns the corner and
Somebody
hits
just
him.
dropped something.
You dropped your business.
Your business card?
She got a business card from a lady.
So, this is the neuralizer for Men in Black. None of you are going to remember a damn thing by the time we're done.
Excellent.
Lasers.
Look at that.
I want the laser pointer. You remember
So-
that?
So the reason why we use lasers is because through Carol's camera, did I get the name right?
Yes.
Look at me go.
Yeah, like Christmas Carol. I was born at Christmas time.
Oh, look at that. So with the lasers, the hope here is that we're going to be able to capture something moving through it. We can't see the lasers until something actually goes through it. We're going to be filming with this, so that way we can actually capture when we're reviewing the video tomorrow morning. And obviously I'll be looking for orbs, but I'm also going to be looking for movement through the lasers. We use two different styles. We use the green stars and we use red squares. The red squares, the reason why we use that is because in the event something comes through right here, I'm going to take the still shot from the video and put it in 3D software and give you a full 3D view of what we caught along with measurements.
Oh, that's dope.
So I've had this guy for about a year. I haven't caught anything that the software will take yet. I have caught things, just nothing where it was like super clear where it was able to take it. So, sorry, but lasers always go to adults, especially on a weekend. So, you get both lasers. Lasers, when you're pointing them down, keep the one edge at your toe. So go ahead and point that. Don't hit the button yet. There you go. Point it at the ground. You want the edge to hit your toe, so that way you can kind of keep it in control. Well, you're short, so you're going to have a small swing.
I was gonna
Maybe
say,
you
how
should
about
give it
Jimmy?
to a taller bird.
How about Jimmy? Jimmy's tall.
Jimmy!
Or Savannah. One of the two.
Go to Savannah. Let's get somebody a little taller.
Ah, he called you short.
Yeah, he called you shorter than
Yeah,
Savannah.
because I called you short.
Yeah.
That makes
Wrong
sense.
way.
Yeah, wrong way. So make sure the
I
stick
mean, he
hits
said
your
he
toe,
needed somebody tall.
and that way you can
And it
kind of keep it
wasn't
in
you.
control. The thing with the red one, with the red squares, once you turn on the toggle, it stays on until you flick it off, which is like a light switch.
Where's the...
So the easiest way is to feel for the there's a hole.
Oh, he's
Oh
gonna
my
get
Perfect,
god,
you got
somebody's gonna get hit.
Now,
You guys flashes on. He's unloading something.
as far as
As long as it's not
if you're
us
going
out
to use
right
them
here.
both together, the only advice here is that you don't want to cross the streams. That goes past the joke, but it works here. The reason why is because you basically just created one giant grid. There's no point. We want to spread it out a little bit.
Okay.
Let's get into those spirit boxes.
Oh yes, let's go.
Well, I told
Is it
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spirit boxes.
My mom is in assisted living. And I have cameras in her room so that I can keep it on at night. I see orbs in there all the time.
Are you surprised?
No. No, not at all.
What's that?
No.
We're going to be using all of my
Check to see
spirit
if he
boxes
was
tonight. We have plenty, and they all do something a little bit different.
Just seeing range.
So, this particular spirit box, if you're unfamiliar with what this actually is it's actually going to sweep through the FM radio stations at a very fast rate. So on your TV shows, this is basically where the white noise comes in, and then your host tries to convince you of what he heard garbled mess in the middle of it, right? Those are called Class B's and C's because you can't actually, tell what they actually are until somebody tells you what they think that they actually heard. So we're going to be doing this in real time. This one is slowed down. All of my spirit boxes are slowed down. None of you are used to listening to white noise for 2 hours at a time. Plus all of the history I'm going to give you, somebody's going to fall asleep. It's a guarantee. So with these being slowed down, the radio chatter will come through. That's what we want. So Leslie, I'm going to repeat that again. The radio chatter is what you want. Song lyrics, DJs, commercials. That's what you're listening for. If you can make out anything that they're saying, it's a 50-50 shot that I can tie it to the location of where we are, a person in history we're discussing, or even something going on with one of you. It happens all the time. You guys bring people with you and you don't even know. So, the cool thing about Leslie is that it's going to record. So even if she struggles with this, you're going to get the recording back tomorrow morning. I'm going to spot check it. You can mess with the volume all you want to. You're going to have an earbud in. If you want to use both to try that little Estes method that we discussed, you can do that. However, you're going to miss out on some of the history based on the locations. So most people just use one. Again, I don't want earbuds back. Your earwax is gross, birthday girl. Sorry about that, but I buy them in bulk. They're yours to keep. You only have one thing to worry about, and that's the volume button. The volume is a wheel right here at the top where my finger is. I'm going to turn it all the way down just so that when you turn it on, it's going to be muted. But it's already recording, and you can already see that the radio is already sweeping through. So go ahead. You're going to have to undo the little twist tab with the earbuds, and then pop one in so you can get used to listening to that.
We should bring your brother along.
Which one? Rocco?
Yeah, Rocco. Because he apparently has something following him.
Sarah said, I wonder if we'll see
It's on his head.
So I do have two of these. However, this one is not going to record. Does this one intrigue anybody else? Okay, you can take it. So again, your volume button is right here. It's the wheel. So you'll have to undo the twist tie. Earwax is gross. Those are yours, and get comfortable with the volume. The next spirit box I use, we don't have to listen to. It's a little interesting. So this one in particular is going to give us words from time to time in the center of the screen, just like what you guys see on TV with the Ovilus. So an Ovilus on television that you would normally see, which is designed for ghost hunting, only has 2,048 terms and phrases in it. This phone app has over 9,100. That's almost 4 times the amount of an actual ghost hunting tool. So the cool thing about this list is that it's going to save every term and phrase to a list with a timestamp next to it. So the timestamp kind of helps direct me if something actually pops up relevant to watch the videos, listen to the audios, that kind of thing. I'm going to clear out the last list. They had over 100 entries, which is a lot for a 2-hour time frame. The average is about 75. So they had quite a bit going on. Here's what I'm going to tell you about this list. 80% of it, we'll use the same term again, is going to be bullshit. It's meant to be a game and a hoax. It's a phone app. We're just giving the ghost a dictionary to be able to manipulate it to their liking. If something actually comes up that's relevant, I'm going to give you the whole list, because sometimes those words are relevant to one of you and one of you only. So if it's relevant to our location, obviously I'll give you the explanation why, and then I will give you the link to verify the information. Is that fair to everybody? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not hiding anything, so let's get into... Jimmy, you're getting the brand new spirit box. This guy works a little bit differently than the rest. So basically how this one's going to work is that it is going to sweep through both the FM and AM radio stations at the same time. It is also going to attempt to take out the white noise and only give us a handful of words throughout the entire evening. You might get maybe 10. So far, this guy has been about 75% accurate. This is probably one of the most accurate pieces that I have. So if you have a hard time with it, there's no earbud, it's open air. So again, I'm gonna kind of have you pair up with Brian here. Reason being is this doesn't record. So if something does come through and you're unable to make it out, we'll at least have the audio from the video. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the two of you will kind of work together. I'm gonna show you where the mute button is. So if your blinkies are at the top, on the right-hand side, there's only one button. I'm gonna put it on mute right now, even though there's nothing going on, just because I don't wanna be distracted as I'm going through the rest of these devices.
Okay.
Who do I got left?
Sierra, Haley, Kelly.
Got it. Last spirit box. Speed right. Okay, so this one obviously has an open air speaker to it. So it's going to be open ear, so a lot of times I'll say, let's go ahead and turn that guy down. So I'm going to actually turn it down right now. I'm going to have you put your ears on this one and see how you do with it. She's like, I'm terrified of that thing. I don't want it. But you're going to get it anyway. So you only have one button to worry about as well. The volume is on the side of the ball speaker, so go ahead and kind of feel where that is. You'll have to roll it up. Like you'll just hold it up and you give it a second and it'll come right back up to volume. And then obviously I have it set up where if you hold it down, it'll come back down. So it's push up, hold down. That one goes to you.
It's a soup.
This is soup.
Super.
And I guess it's a BS word.
Alright, you guys have all seen these on television, right?
Yep.
So basically this is an EMF detector. It's going to measure electromagnetic fields. So we'll measure any type of like cell phone signal if it's super close, buildings, wires, parking meters, those kind of things. I use this one in particular to kind of debunk things. So we'll look at it to see if it's in a rhythm or a pattern, because it usually means it's, you know, coming from something man-made. So these are kind of nice to have. I mean, you guys seem like you're kind of joined at the hip. I don't know what the relationship is here, but he's going to need to know where to stop. So you're going to use that so that he knows where to stop and really kind of ask some questions, and you guys can all listen in on it together. So this one, Sierra?
I don't know who you are.
Me getting names right. I don't have all of you. I'll get them, but I don't have all of you. So this...
It looks like a taser.
No, it's not a taser. You are the multitasker, though.
Excuse me?
No, not you specifically, but just like, you know, just, you know.
You're the multitasker.
Awesome.
So this does 3 different functions. The first thing that it has, so this one has an EMF detector in it already. So it has the same thing. What's your names? Callie has the same things that Callie's has, only it's in digital format. So anything above 2.5 on the big numbers, I want to know what's going on, because that's Callie's second green dot. So that way we can kind of debunk or see what's actually happening. The bottom is ambient temperature. What does that mean? The temperature is being measured right here with the yellow probe. Brian finds something on the camera, you and I can prove or debunk it pretty quickly based on the temperature and see where that cold spot's actually coming from. The last thing that it has a motion sensor on it. It's called a REM pod. So basically, if something gets close to that antenna, it's gonna go off. I'm not touching it right now.
Oh yeah, you are.
The closer it gets, obviously, the higher pitch it's gonna go. There's a lot of colors in there. That's why it's obviously I'm pointing it down and it's very bright. However, you and I are gonna talk more about that at our next stop. So I'm gonna turn that part off for now. Just focus on the numbers going on right here first.
Do I have to press anything or anything like that?
We're gonna go over that.
Okay.
I found the button.
You found the button because the light came on? Whoops. Sorry, babe.
That's my thing.
What's your thing?
What?
Tripping.
I didn't trip. I stepped on his foot.
You
Technically his bad foot.
I don't think you'll trip this time.
Yeah, the one that's broken.
Just don't cross strings.
That's gross.
You need to go to the doctor, honey.
What's
I
that?
had doctor.
So
You
we
are
are
not
not very
doctor.
appropriate.
Totally fine. So I had 4 young ladies last night that came on the tour, and it took us 25 minutes just to get started. Just because they had so many questions. They had all just met downtown together, like from all parts of the country, and they were all old friends, and it literally took us almost 30 minutes just to get started. Like, it was
Our
kind of
apologies.
no,
We
you're
didn't do
fine.
much better.
Like, this is actually a lot easier than last night. They were a fun group, don't get me wrong, but getting started with them was kind of a task. But anyway, with that said, first off, my bag is much lighter, so thank you for that. Those of you that have devices that do not record anything, so there are a couple devices here that don't record. I will be writing little notes down. I keep a little notepad in my pocket, so that way when you guys hear things, you see things, you have obviously readings, I'll be writing all of those things down, and they will go inside your notes. Yeah, Carol, you kind of jumped out of line there.
Sorry.
Way to go, Mom. Center. All right. Let's talk about why we started here. You guys are gonna make me talk all night because I'm pretty sure that's my job. So I'm gonna take a drink of water first.
Mom, you gonna be able to hold that up the whole time? You are pretty old.
Shut up. That's my son.
If you want to hit him with it, it's pretty heavy.
Okay. It might leave a nice lump on there. Yes.
I did not say that out loud. It's not on the recording. You saw nothing.
It's not recording yet.
I have the recording right here.
Oh.
And actually, you are recording the whole thing. When it's a square, it's recording.
Yeah, he's been recording since
So
we
you are
started on
recording.
Brian.
Yeah.
Should he told you that?
All right, back to me, everybody. Let's talk about why we started here. This is Big John's Tavern. That was in the text. You guys didn't get. It was only Crystal Ball. So, with that, of course, we started here because the place is haunted. This used to be owned by a football player. His name is Big John Kennedy. He played for the 1947 New York Giants. Whenever I'm giving you the history of a location, I will always do my best to slow down on the certain keywords that the spirit boxes, because all of them on the play tonight, will be listening for on specific, obviously, locations. So, 1947, New York Giants, John, anything related to a bar would be relevant in this location. So let's talk about what actually happened here. People don't like their apartments being filmed. Just saying.
I don't care.
Feel free to intermingle those devices.
Mom, can I get the laser?
Definitely not on the laser.
He said it's all
Yeah. There's a laser lot, literally, in Charleston. If those gets pointed in the wrong direction, I am arrested walking away. I tried to, but you may.
Yeah, she's not a very good
Yeah, it's not
option.
going to be hurt when you need.
Actually, Myrtle Beach, I think
Is it because of the like line?
Justice.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I say justice.
Well, you're talking about law.
Batman.
Back to Big John. So this was his bar, and he used to sit in the back. He would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink enough. One night, 2 guys come in, they weren't old enough to drink. He had the bartender throw them out. They leave pretty pissed off. They come back the next night, and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John slams his beer down on the bar, because now he sees what's going on, and he goes over and just starts pounding these guys into the floor, just beating the hell out of them. So a couple of gunshots go off. John gets grazed in the neck, but the bullet lands behind him. John gets up after being shot, goes back to the bar, tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor in an ambulance. So the moral of the story is you don't mess with Big John. But the other moral is that you guys normally think of a haunted building and somebody died in it, or some kind of tragedy there, so forth and so on. It's just his place. What's haunting the place is the bullet. It's allegedly still there. Even if it isn't, if the new renovation actually filled it in, Big John's blood is still in this building. People that sit in the front of this bar tend to get a little, please, nauseous or pain. This is your heated warning and the reason why we start here. Anybody who has any of those symptoms, I need to know immediately so we can move the whole group and get that person to safety. Is that fair? Man, it just got really real, didn't it? So, let's talk about something else other than our own health. You know, you guys all live in South Carolina, so you've probably heard of the big earthquake we had down here in 1886. Every tour guide talks about it, but now you know we had a big earthquake in 1886. This building is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The white mantle you see in the middle of the building also wraps around the front of the building. So if they say a piece of it broke off, struck somebody in the back of the head, and they killed him, obviously, and you can see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street. I said apparently and allegedly a lot with that story because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue, so none of you were thinking about getting sick on the tour, even though I just brought it up again. So, that was a joke. Yes, good job on laughing. Thank you, Crystal. So, cameras. Before we move on, we will be... Producer.
They got jokes.
Yes.
Someone has jokes.
People do not like to be filmed. People don't like their cars to be filmed. It's a Friday night. There's going to be certain spaces, like I told you, will be empty, but cars may be parked nearby or in the space. We will not be filming cars in any way, shape, or form. If I do an Andy's Coming kind of mentality, like from Toy Story, you're playing with your cell phone, so it's a good thing I gave you that one. But Carol, you're going to point yours down exactly the way you're doing it. It's not recording it, but if I say kind of like act casual, you're going to point it down. People just don't like to be filmed. They don't know what the hell we're doing out here. But if they do, I normally give them a card and I'll see them later. Yeah, we're going to move.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah? She might. Yeah, clowns like that we just see.
So it doesn't matter to me if it's male or female. It's all about the message.
That was a little scary.
So,
Welcome to downtown.
welcome to the Big Red Barn Live. I was actually done with that area. So, again, that's probably the scariest thing. They actually beat me on what's going to be the scariest thing tonight. So, how about that? I do keep my voice down over here because we are standing right next to the Big Red Barn lot. So this is where the horses are kept for your carriage rides. So they can't hear us because those window panes do not have glass in them. They can't hear us, which is why your spirit box will stay down. We're not going to spend a lot of time here. It's just more of a hands-on, one-on-one with your devices. So, yeah, exactly. So the history here is very simple, and I made it that way so I can prove a point with all of your devices. This is the same red barn that held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston from 1860s to 1920s. So that's a rough estimate. There's not a whole lot of history on this building, but again, I bring you here on purpose. So spirit boxes, let's kind of get straight into those because I still want to move this on pretty quickly. Spirit boxes, this is not TV. This is not a Ouija board. This is not, what's the first question everybody wants to ask? Where you at? What's the first question everybody wants to ask a spirit box?
Are you there? Or
Hello, or is somebody here? Right? So that's what everybody wants to ask. First off, if somebody answers no, somebody's here, right? So we're not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long. Certain spaces, I will be giving you impromptu questions that you can use. If you decide to go rogue and ask your own questions, make sure they're not yes or no questions, and make sure it's something we can actually prove. So, with spirit boxes, I would normally say, in a space like this, ask questions you already know the answers to, just so you can get used to your devices, but we won't be here long enough to do that. But I'm still going to provide the example so everybody gets the point. If somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, we're going to be looking and listening for the color red. I say looking because we have a digital spirit box word list, right? We don't have to listen to it. But the word red might not be available on the song lyrics and DJs that everybody else is listening into. So, fire truck, blood, heart, those three things are specifically red. I would actually take one of those as an acceptable answer. So what color is the big red barn? Blood. I get it. So, however, most of the night I'm going to require, especially with the amount of devices we have out tonight, that something else is going off or giving us some kind of signal to be able to verify what's actually going on. It doesn't always have to be in real time. It could be something I catch tomorrow morning. So with that said, let's give you another example. Let's say Crystal has the word art on her word screen, right? It's probably not the word art right now, but we're going to say Jimmy hears the number 40 on his spirit box. Those two things don't mean anything by themselves. You put them together, you have Art Faircloth that was number 40 on Big John's team. You can see where I'm going, where I have to put the clues together to figure all of this out. So it's a lot of research, and you're going to get all of those links to continue that research. So, spirit boxes, I think you have a much better gist of how to use your devices. So let's talk about the cameras, and then we're going to move from this space. So, Brian, you're going to try to do two things for us. You're going to try to keep one of us in view. I know I told you to keep people out of view. I meant people outside of our circle. So the reason being is we're going to be the warmest thing out here. We're 97 to 99 degrees. If Carol is over 100, I need to know, so that way we can kick her off the tour and she can go feel better. Is that fair? Because you're going to be the only one that can see her temperature.
Right.
Perfect. So the other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out of view. The reason being is because that blue dots will default to the sky looking for a surface.
Right.
There's no surface on the sky. So it's going to be impossible in some spaces. Just do your best.
Okay.
Carol, back over to you. So your camera is obviously very, very unique, and it is a design of pretty much my own. Where's my lasers? Where are those at? Perfect. So shine one of your lasers down on the ground for me. Make sure it stays on the ground. So basically, I already know what the stars look like, and now so does everybody else. You're basically going to be filming from 2 to 4 steps backwards. So that way your camera's going to kind of even out. And as you guys are moving together, you don't want to go out, let her go out. Because really what we're looking for is something from the pen to the ground. So even if you want to raise it up a little bit wherever you're comfortable, perfect. You're basically just making a bigger triangle. Right. So we're looking for things to move through it. That's the whole point. You guys will move in sync very slowly. The slower you move, the lot easier it is to capture something going through there. We're not recording yet. I will start your recording on the next space, just because those files are giant. And it takes a lot of time to process them. So if I can eliminate things, I can. I'm going to talk about Sierra, right?
Yes.
I'm going to talk about yours at the next space, just because I like to work with that one first, because we won't be able to use that REM pod until we get there anyway. Does everybody have a pretty good gist? Have we had any readings on the K2 meter, Kelly? And any readings on your Sierra?
The number went up to 0.9, but it didn't go past 2.5, so it wasn't nothing.
So the Earth also gives off an EMF field, so electromagnetic field. So anything all the way up to like 1.1 is a wash, just because it's probably natural coming from the Earth.
All right, thank you for that knowledge, because otherwise I would have just been like, oh,
You're
there's something.
I don't throw all of that at you guys at once, obviously, because there's a whole lot going on today. So, any words come up on your word list?
Loss, as you were talking about temperature.
So
And justice when you were talking about law.
I don't want to see
getting
every
everything.
term that comes
Maybe it
up
was
with
just me.
yours, just because, again, if it's going to give us over 100 terms tonight, we're going to be out here
Right.
for 4 in the morning.
Right.
So I will come to you when I want to see the word list, and when I say that, you're going to hit the little scroll to the right of it, and it'll bring up the word list, and you'll be able to scroll through it. When it actually comes up, just don't hit the red X's, and then just circle right. So, I say we go learn much deeper history than football players.
My rings.
All right, we're going to go this way.
Is it normal for like the metal on my rings to?
You're tapping it.
Well,
So it's a little bit of a jostle that'll make the light go on.
maybe I should have it in that hand. I'm a tapper.
A tapper? This infrared thing's pretty cool.
Hey, I was getting like some stuff going on orange over there.
Alright, so the lot is obviously pretty full tonight. It's Friday night, so we're kind of limited on space. We are not going to be going in between cars. We're not going to be even going near vehicles in here, especially with lasers and the video cameras. So, let's get into the history of this location. But first, all of these spirit boxes, again, I think I have 6 out here tonight, which is very interesting. I normally have all 6 out. So, with all the spirit boxes, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. You will get these answers from your spirit boxes. This is a space where I will withhold information purposely. So let's get into the space. What is this place? It's obviously a parking lot. Lucky you, right? This used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. It used to sit in the front of this lot. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. So when we actually spread apart a little bit, as far as anybody wanting to stay back here because the space is already vacant, I can't prove anything about the slaves and servants that the Pinckneys owned, just so you know. If you get direct answers, they are for you and for you alone. So let's get into this. Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses, in case you lost count. Now, do you guys see why I look for those secondary clues? We need to know who the hell we're talking to. So, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution. It's a pretty big deal for us here in South Carolina. However, I hate politics more than everybody here. So, we're going to move on. Did I offend? Okay. Debatable. I know, they did. But anyway, Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. Keep that in mind if you're going to ask her when she got married or how old she was. It's not going to be like 12 and 14, right? It's going to be according to today's standards. The only reason I bring this up is because Charles was over double her age when they married. It sounds kind of creepy, but it's not as bad when I revealed all of the answers to you. Let's see. So when she married him, it was because her father over in England thought he was dying. And he wanted to see all of his children one last time. He's trying to bring them all home. She didn't think he was dying, and she fell in love. This is 1744. When she married Charles, she didn't marry him for a green card or citizenship because we're not even a country yet. So basically, she married him out of love, and Dad got better, so she was right. Dad starts sending her apologetic gifts to this space. You guys are all South Carolinians now. You know what indigo is, I hope. So one of those gifts that he actually sent her were the seeds of indigo. That's where it actually started, right where we're standing. She didn't know what to do with it, so she learned from her slaves on how to keep it cultivated in our not-so-warm temperatures all the time. Once she figured it out, she moved it to a plantation in Mount Pleasant, just north of here, calls her father up and says, rice plantations are going downhill, we can make a killing with this indigo. We now have an international businesswoman during colonial times, something absolutely unheard of. So now that I've bored you with the business of Eliza, let's get into the weird shit, because that's why you guys are all here. Right, weird stuff. Eliza was the second wife named Eliza, back to back from Charles. Fellas, it's either really smart or really stupid, depending on how you look at it. So, 5 months apart. The first wife, Eliza, dies. The second wife, he marries her in May of the same year, 1744. With that said, both Elizas, ironically, have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. That's all I'm going to give you. That's the only irony with that whole part of the story. The mansion's not here anymore. We can ask.
I hate to interrupt, but it says 16.1 at the top, and it just dropped down after 0.9.
That's why they call it ghost hunting. They don't stand still.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to write down. You got 16.9?
16.1.
16.1.
Yes, sir.
Got it. So after I'm done, obviously you're the first person I have to work with anyway, so just remember that number. And it's not that I'm going to give you guys what those readings are here in just a moment, of what they actually mean. The mansion's not here. You can ask what happened to it. Obviously, it's some kind of tragedy. If you get an answer, start asking when that happened. You'll get a specific year. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Let's see. Eliza's children. I already told you there's one. His name is Charles, signer of the Constitution. There are more. You can ask how many and what their names are, and that's it. The reason why is there's a tragedy among those children. If we poke the bear about that tragedy, all activity will stop, including any EMF readings that we're getting from those meters. So again, I've seen it dozens of times. I won't lie, just a few nights ago, I had a few unwelcoming phrases come through the spirit boxes in this location, and it was pretty weak here last night. So again, I don't know what to expect tonight. However, I did stop here on my way to meet y'all to kind of make my peace with the Pinckneys. Eliza's death is where she's pretty open. Ask her how old she was when she died, what she died from, where she's buried, and what U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Hopefully you'll get an answer to all of those. That would be a grand thing to have all questions answered, so we'll kind of see what pops up. Spirit boxes, keep in mind, you're going to be asking questions. Those answers can go to any spirit box along with any audio. Both video cameras are recording audio, and I have a separate audio on my bag. So we literally have 9 points of communication with us tonight. As far as the lasers, this is a safe place for lasers, so we can use them in here. Again, if people are walking through the parking lot, they don't know what we're doing. Turn off the lasers, cameras down. So again, we don't want to be filming people. What has come up on your word list that you were so excited about?
Oh, so dark.
Oh.
We were talking about
As
what
we
you
were
were
just
talking
talking
about.
about, as we were approaching, we had guns, we had weapons, we had exit, and now we're on so dark.
So again, relative to us, correct? guns, weapon, and exits, yeah, I'll take it. Like, definitely will.
And it kept
Fluctuating.
yeah, point in case.
So, as far as the readings that are going with the K2 meter, Callie's device, and Sierra's device, let me give you a point of perspective on that. Your television has a bunch of wires behind it, right? At least I hope it does. That's about 40 to 60 milligauss on the meters that they have. Callie, your device only goes to 25, so it would max out and just basically stay there. Your microwave running on high is about 150 milligauss, and that's with the door shut running on high. As far as Sierra's device, the highest reading I've ever seen on that device ever has been in this space at 214. That was just a few weeks ago, and I actually had to stand away from it because I do have epilepsy and I can be influenced by it pretty quickly. So the user was perfectly fine. We both saw 214, but it never reoccurred. So again, it was a crazy, crazy reading. So we are going to spread out around here. So Sierra's going to stay back so I can show her a few more things about her device. Nice slow movements on your cameras. Laser work. Let's get as much in as we possibly can. Let's get you recording. Okay. So it's the little switch on the top. Where are you? Nice and easy. All right. Spread out. Sierra, stay behind. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, I think I'm with y'all.
Yeah. So three of you looks like you're working together.
You
Unmute
turn
yours,
your-
Jimmy. Let's get that thing cranked.
Do what now?
Go ahead and unmute it.
Oh.
Did you
All
unmute
right,
it?
so
Yeah, that's what
get those
it is.
numbers
Okay.
recorded first. What is it? 16.1.
I saw 16.1.
Try
I saw
walking.
9.7.
No,
I
I'm
saw
following y'all.
2.7. I've seen a lot of different.
Try
like,
walking.
Huh?
Try walking.
Walking?
What is that thing supposed to do?
I have no fucking clue.
Oh, it's supposed to pick up like noise. And I'm supposed to pick up.
Color. But remember, don't do people or don't do parts. Because I don't know
I'm
what.
standing over to the right, so.
Yeah, we'll be right.
What?
Oh, I guess the front of the building's over here.
Egon.
Well, at least we can.
Egon.
At least. At
Those
least.
big words right here.
At least we'll know that guy's name. I mean, he's a Nick.
Oh, yeah.
Is that because you were moving?
No, I was
Bouncing.
standing still and it was doing it.
No.
It's not no more now.
Makes impressions on the inside of her thighs. There are little
See?
It's just flickering. You want it to max out.
Is that what I want?
Oh, you want to ask questions too. What was her name? Eliza?
Yeah.
Two.
Yeah. There was one Eliza and two Eliza, and then there was a bunch of Charles. So,
Oh? Nothing on your box?
like it went all the way over here.
Reminds me of the Ghostbusters movie where they follow it. Oh, you have that little
What do
freaking
you see
wand
now,
thing.
Ray?
That was interesting.
This isn't recording though.
No,
but
but
you were recording.
I'm recording.
That's right.
Like radios.
Yeah, no, it did. It hit red over here.
Well, yeah, and it started to spike on his little thingy.
Mm-hmm.
Mine?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just in this location. We stood still, though.
Not really. I mean, it's getting to orange. That's about it right now. Oh, I'm getting red right here. I mean, it's not going all the way, but it's hitting almost. all the way. I wonder if it's the music.
It's possible.
My God.
Yeah, I'm hitting red again. How about when we get home? Oh shit, it's going crazy.
It's spiking a little bit.
They're all red.
You see anything, Brian?
No cold spots. Everything's around 88 degrees.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
what-
gonna say, because I'm really spiking right here. Go back over here.
Wander around the parking lot a little bit.
Anybody hearing anything out of there?
Yeah.
Getting a few squawks out of it.
Really make it out.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
There's a few squawks out of it. That's about it.
Like right over
Well,
here.
more over there than anything.
Yeah, I ended up going all the way.
Oh, I need a point. So you weren't maxed out.
Yeah, I've maxed out a couple of times.
Definitely a couple of 25s.
Yeah, because see, it's more calmer over there, but
Ryan, you're basically a cameraman. Like,
Yeah.
You're just nice, slow movements.
Yeah, not a
Easy
whole
to-
lot of temperature drop during anything that happened over there, but
And
who
again,
knows?
Even with both cameras, it's
See this
more
right
about the
here?
media review because I send those to YouTube.
Right.
Yeah, I see that thing going nuts.
yeah.
That way you guys can watch it on your TV, your computers,
Right.
freeze frame things, because I'm not going to stop and rewind video in real time.
Right.
That's just not how I operate. I'd rather give you guys the full video, the next day. But
Agreed.
But yeah,
Give us something to do tomorrow.
yeah, a whole because again, you're going to have like probably about 9 to 10 hours worth of. I just saw something move. Maybe lights are playing on my glasses. I thought I saw something just move like over there, but I don't normally do that. Like that's just. I'm like, is there a cat over there? Like that was my first instinct. So.
He's trying to sell his product here,
I don't
which is
It's fine.
it's better than sitting at home.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with this.
And he gives you something to play with.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably $200-300 worth of infrared plus a phone. I was looking about buying like one of those for Leslie, but maybe even the one that she has over there.
Yeah.
Just because Leslie loves to play with that kind of stuff.
It's cool. It's like being a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
It's trying to have my backpack.
See, my thing is I do honestly, I believe in all this stuff.
Light 'em
and
up.
everything. I believe in all of this stuff and everything. You're the skeptic.
Ray.
Oh my god, I'm done. I'm done with you. And I gotta be stuck with y'all all night.
I love that part when they
Yeah.
do that. I can't- Bill Murray played perfectly that.
Yeah.
What did we watch the other day? Have you ever seen Return to Oz?
Yes.
That is a terrible movie.
It's
I
so
watched
weird.
that. I
With
watched
the
it as a
wheelies.
kid.
Nothing to do with the first one.
No.
I know, I watched
The
it as a
wheelies,
kid.
The
Yeah.
wheelies and what was the other thing? The freaking the freaking scarecrow that had like a plastic face.
Yeah, and was that the witch changed heads?
Yeah,
Yes.
she took her head off.
Oh my God, that was so
This is the
bad.
first time I ever saw that movie.
Really? I saw it as a kid.
What about The Navigator?
Yeah,
With the
seen
little
that.
boy and the little
Yeah.
silver spaceship.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Crystal hadn't seen that one before. We watched
a
a
good
couple.
one.
We watched a couple of old movies.
See, that's what we normally do. Is we watch a lot of old movies and everything, or like the really bad movies, like all the Sharknadoes.
I had to watch it just because.
Well, we watched the newest Scream. That was kind of cool. We rented it.
I was like in between on that one.
Oh, you didn't like the new Scream?
No.
I kind of did. I just didn't like that they killed off Dewey.
I'll take that.
Right.
I didn't like that.
Anything else going crazy over here? They're getting a couple of terms that are relevant. So anything coming up on yours at all?
No, just a lot
More
of.
squawking?
It's
Yeah.
actually more over here than.
Yeah, that's why I kind of been staying over here. I mean, it's calming down just a little bit.
I would tell you there's usually only about 10 to 12 terms that we can actually make out of this in a 2-hour time frame.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't expect like everything, like I'm writing on all these terms everybody else is hearing. Yours is like very, like seldom, but when they do come through, it's loud and clear, and most of the time it's accurate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's certain things I just can't make up.
Right.
And there's like, when it comes through loud and clear, and I usually pair it up with this particular camera just because it records the audio clearer than the other one.
Yeah.
I was telling a pirate story, which you guys are going to hear later. Like the second or third night I had it, and it said pirate. Plain as day. We all heard it, but we also had the recording of it from the thermal imaging camera. First off, who the hell's saying the word pirate on the radio? So I couldn't tell if it was disembodied or not, like meaning if it wasn't
Right.
radio chatter.
Right.
But again, who the hell says pirate on the radio?
They don't.
But it came through, and we all heard it. It was a team of 8. I remember that specifically because I did not have the lasers out that night. But it all came out when I said, all right, guys, let's regroup. And it said, pirate. And I'm like, are you shitting me right now? Like, okay, new device, way to go.
Right.
Good investment.
Wow.
27.9.
Nice, look at you.
Right around here. Yeah.
27.9.
Yeah, see, ours was all right here for a little while.
Yeah, like I was just kind of follow the direction because I would watch the number get bigger. Now it's at 8. 27.9. That's when it was making that. That's why I was getting the lasers and you ran off.
Sorry.
Not funny for me. Not funny for me. I can't see.
She's the fancy one.
This is probably the safest thing for me to hold.
Yeah, probably. Well, that's one that. One that would you have to look down.
I'm going to do one more round robin, and then I'll regroup you guys and get you guys all the answers. We're already getting some stuff.
Crystal has. Just words. I carry a phone all the time and I can read words.
I can read words.
Without tripping?
Yes. I haven't tripped and hurt myself since 2019.
You better knock on wood.
How about at
No.
On this street over there, in between the cars, I heard,
Leslie, have you heard anything else?
over there, I heard, like someone saying mom, and then after we were leaving, it says they're all coming. And then over there, I heard surrender and maybe like sleep or sing.
Just take the toes.
It's gone a lot better.
No, what happened?
Writing in the dark is a new skill. All right, let's regroup everybody. Let's come back to the back again.
I couldn't really tell. But over there, I think I heard like a scream almost. It could have just been the static, but it sounded like deep, like a guy, and almost like a scream, like he was in pain. And it also said we would be burned or something, or in circles.
Oh, you picked some stuff up.
All part of the
Did
ascent.
you?
Remember that thing was trying to scare people.
Just now.
She asked if it was like, it said,
Screaming, like actual screaming or word screaming?
No, like screaming, like a girl screaming.
Write that down. My hands are a little tight. All right, let's gather everybody over. Let's turn the cameras off. So Brian, go ahead and hit that square for me. This is a quiet space. So again, we're not going to spend a lot of time here. But again, this is very emotional space. So let's go with names. What did we hear as far as names?
I heard Aaron.
Aaron. get the spelling. Anybody else get me?
Bake.
Bake.
As soon as we started watching this.
Honey,
That's
did you hear any
absolutely
names on yours?
No.
Oh, yeah. I told him about it. And teaspoon.
Also relevant.
I have a lot of things about this.
So, what is this? Yes.
I just have a quick question. Whenever you said that, what's it called? The parking, whatever it's called. Is that open button?
How high?
In like some boards and stuff like that?
Standard, normally between like 2 to 6 comes off the buildings. The last one we had a reading of each, I wrote that one down. Anything else, that includes Callie. You're probably going to get like the second or third dot on yours.
I've gotten little flickers, but not much.
Yeah, so I can get much in here. We're actually going to mute here in this space just because we're next to somebody's track. So again, that's why we don't spend a lot of time. Let's talk about why bake and teaspoon are relevant. So let's get into the lesson why we're actually here. So this is Lodge Alley. When we crossed that last crosswalk and moved down East Bay Street, where we were able to keep going, that was where the original Charlestown walls used to be. So we were standing on one of the first streets we ever had in Charleston. So Charleston is called Charlestown, walled city. So the people used to live here. The two buildings were lit up again. They weren't here. Little tiny shop that houses were. We have a full list of residents and every single person that's ever lived down here. It's not a lengthy list. When I say people live here, it's only 2 to 6 people at a time. The names I commonly get are Benjamin and John. Doesn't sound like very like Nick, come on, those are pretty common names. Benjamin and John show up every 6 to 7 weeks. Unfortunately for you, in the loop that I keep track of, we're in week 1. So I'm not expecting Benjamin and John to come through. What's relevant about these folks? They both lived here in 1801. That's all I have. It keeps happening over and over and over again. Every once in a while, when I get those 2 names, I'll get a third name. That name is Jane. That's a third person out of 5 that lived here in 1801. Jane, Benjamin, and John. If we're confused about which John it is, because yes, there were 4 different Johns that lived out here over a 60-year period. John will give us his last name. It is Johnson. Yes, his name was John Johnson.
His dad was John. He was John's son.
So, with that, this is a very weird space. They did do an archaeological dig underneath our bricks that we're standing on. They found some of their silverware, like teaspoons. They found some of their tools. I think somebody heard the word tools earlier, if I'm not mistaken. So they found some of their clothing, and they classify these people as lower class people. It makes complete sense if you look at the geology around this. The other side of the wall would have been across the street of East Bay, opposite where we were walking. The snow and low tide would be coming through here quite often. The ridge in Charleston are not going to put up with the snow and low tide. If you've been down to the back, you probably noticed that the houses are skinny in the front and they go long back. There's a couple of reasons for that. First off, they have piazzas on them. Front porches with a door, right? So it looks like it's part of the house. That helps keep the snow and low tide from coming into the house. They open up the second-story window and the cool air from the water comes in. The cool air drops, heat rises. So it's old-school air conditioning. The second reason is because the skinnier you were taxed on your house based on how much street side you took. The skinnier your house, the less taxes you pay. Now, we just left the Pinckney Mansion site where I showed you it was broad. That makes sense as well. They had their indigo plants, their indigo farms, lots of plantations, and most of them were politicians. They probably didn't care about the taxes that they had to pay to show off their beautiful home. So again, that's why it stood broad against East Bay Street. The baker, or the bake piece, is very relevant. I don't see it too often down here, but there was a baker that lived down here by the name of Alexander. Yes, John Johnson and Alexander. Common names, really. So, and then there was an Alex Calder that was also a baker down here. So, very interesting that we had the word bake show up. I am excited about that because that's not something I see very often. So maybe there's a whole other things going on. Here's why I think I keep getting the name wrong. We're standing on Belgian blocks. These things normally don't promote all those extra things during the tour. Same thing, stores at 7:30. You're going to see it all tomorrow on your channel. It's all on the website. So, again, we're not here to self-promote Nick, right? So we're here to actually go through that. But with that, that's how I actually discovered, like, this is what's actually going on here because of the race. Before people lived here, Freemasons had a Masonic Lodge here, which is where the name comes from, Lodge Alley. So we do get terms wrapped up in Freemasons. No,
Freemason symbols.
I'm excited.
That is cool.
There's some of the terms that I normally get around the Freemasons. Obviously, Mason, Freemason, bricks. And I hear the term Illuminati probably more often than I should. First off, who the hell is saying Illuminati on the radio? Second off, why am I only hearing it in this space? Again, and that's completely random. That is not part of the whole stone tape theory that I think is going on here. I think it's with the residents only. So again, the fact that you've got symbols the minute I mention Freemasons, that is actually pretty kick-ass. Like, I'm pretty stoked about that. This is me exciting everybody in case you guys missed
That is really cool.
So, I'm not the Zach Bagans. I'm like, oh my god. You know, like, I'm not that guy at all. Like, so, this is me excited about symbols showing up.
That's why he won't watch it. He's like, all I could think of was Jim Carrey. Overactor.
Yeah, pretty much.
What's the guy that he always sent it in by himself? He's always scared.
That's what he's talking about. Jack.
Yeah.
Oh yes, because we like laughing at Aaron because they always
Aaron's
like, walk him in the
awesome.
morgue and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
you guys are so mean to him.
That's Ghost Adventures.
Oh, Ghost Adventures.
Lock him in a psychiatric room.
Oh man, he lost
Yeah,
it.
Aaron.
So here's what's going to happen from
Yeah.
here. We are going to go to another alley. However, I cannot take you through it. I've been kicked out.
We haven't been out.
Here's why I got kicked out. I have all of the gizmos and gadgets and all the, you know, the lights and the craziness. It is residential at the end. So we don't go through there simply because it is residential at the end, and it's not fair for my 10 people to try to work around the other Charleston tours that got 20 people in there. So if there's 2 tours in there, we're allowed to go down halfway. The other half is residential. So again, it's not fair to them or us. However, me telling the story outside of the alley still gives us, like, it stirs things up. We will have activity going on with that alley through the rest of our time together because we're going to be relatively close to it. Remember how we got gun in throats when we were at the Pinky Mansion site relative to Big John? It's going to be the same principle. So again, we're not going to do a long hike. This is the next shortest piece that we're going to go to is that next alley. I will tell you why I got kicked out of it because that's the fun part of the story. So Brian's like, yeah. So we are going to be cutting through a neighborhood to get there. So which we are allowed to do. Video cameras will be shut off as we exit the alley. So I think you guys both know how to operate your cameras. Harry, you're doing a great job, by the way. Nice and still.
I just saw a board come down.
Oh, we do get a lot of insects in here. So
Okay, it could be that too.
but this is one of the spaces where I also capture legitimate orbs. So yeah, it's a lot of debunking. But yeah, you're good. You don't have to hit it again. Oh, you hit it. You hit it back again.
Hit it too many times.
Yep. Maybe. Okay. Nope. Still on. Got it. So as so that way we can all take a look at the alley because I'm going to tell you about the alley
Oh,
behind
this
me.
alley.
We've walked down that aisle.
Yeah, Carol might want to.
Yeah, she's okay. Yeah, so very not YouTuber-ish. You don't want to be like up here, like perfect right where you're at, nice and low. Just, you know, because these other groups, they haven't signed up to be filmed. You guys all do. That's the whole point. So, but yeah, you don't want to point the ground either.
Oh,
There you go.
Brian, we've been down that alley.
One of the tours we did.
Yeah, we're getting into the more popular areas, so expect to see much bigger
I feel like I've
tours.
been down that alley.
Remember, this is my max size. I want you guys to have fun. How are you going to hear your tour guide if there's 20 people there? Just saying. Yeah. So, just pointing all of that out.
All right, but no, I got it now.
All right, you got this. All right, so that's Philadelphia Alley behind me. So we're not going anywhere. This guy actually likes me. What'd you get? A pest? Yeah, I'm sure. This particular path, P-A-T-H. Got it. Yes, that would actually make more sense than pests.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would too, but you're definitely talking about an alley. So this place used to be called Dueler's Alley. We renamed it Philadelphia Alley after dueling became illegal and stupid. and we named it after a city that actually helped us out of one of our many, many fires that I mentioned earlier. So we all tell the story of the same duel, which is, I'm just going to tell it differently than what every other tour guide in town will tell it, because you're ghost hunting. You need different things out of the story versus just a ghost story and move on. So let's get into it. Who heard the word doctor earlier? That came out of one of y'all. So, and the number 7? Okay. Very weird that they both heard it in the same space, because both of those things are relevant here. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. His birthday is July 7th, 7-7. So, just like to point that out, because the number 7 usually shows up from here going forward, and it's relative to 3 different areas of this basic street corner. So I need to know how many times it shows up and what other keyword shows up around it. If we hear it twice, it's obviously relevant to the doctor. But again, Joseph Brown Ladd was his name. He moves down here because his fiancée, Amanda, just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents.
Either of them young?
They were both young. Vague, but we'll take it. I'd rather have the specific age. But anyway, Amanda has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash from her inheritance. The attorney thinks the doctor is just after her money, so he tells her, get rid of the doctor. To prove that the doctor's not just after her cash, he moves to Charleston. The coachman that brings him into town sets him up to be robbed and killed. This guy just graduated med school. It looks like he's got some company, he's got some money, he's got some nice clothes on, so we're going to set him up. Somebody walking by sees what's going on. His name is Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph for a second because Ralph actually has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. R.I. shows up here a lot. So I just gave you the 2 main characters. I always need a secondary clue so I know who it belongs to. But anyway, Ralph says, dude, you don't want to stay here. He didn't really say dude because it's the late 1700s. He said, you don't want to stay here because there's a gunman inside. He's going to try to take all your cash, but I have some friends at 59 Church Street where you can rent a room from and you'll be safe. So the doctor takes him up on the offer at 59 Church Street and the 2 become friends. So the doctor's practice begins to take off. He's making his own money now. Amanda's moving down soon. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. I'm going to put this cliche to rest for you. Every haunted city you will ever visit in the future has a haunted, whistling ghost of some sort. Ours just happens to be a doctor. Let's go with it. So, with that said, the doctor and Ralph go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money than Ralph. The doctor gets better seats. So they talk about these plays on the way home. We got some people walking by, Carol. There you go. So they talk about the plays on the way home. One night they go see William III from Shakespeare, and they start arguing over the new actress that was in town. The doctor thought she was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. So they start arguing, and then Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. It obviously gets very ugly, and they go their separate ways. So, with that said, Ralph has friends. He's from here, so he has friends at the newspaper. He goes to see his friends at the newspaper and puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor sees the ad, of course, because it's in the public newspaper, and he rebuttals with, let's go to Jeweler's Alley. We're going to settle this. So they come down, they take their 10 paces. The doctor turns, he points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to prove a point, that he had the courage and bravery to show up to the fight. Ralph has his one shot, sorry Brian, puts it in the kneecap on the doctor, so the doctor doesn't die either. But Ralph proved his point. He's still mad. His friends pick him up. They carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. You have to remember, he's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed it out himself. So, that's the end of that story, but here's the ghost portion of it. They say as you walk through this alley behind me, you can hear the whistles from the doctor. If you happen to go down there again, and you want to try your voice recorders to see if you get any whistles, I want you to keep in mind that every local knows the story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side is going to throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night on my way back to my garage. We're going to stop up there. My garage is above that little convenience store right there. So when my daughter's on the tour, we race to see who's going to throw the whistle first. But I can talk and whistle at the same time, so I can keep going. She doesn't understand that. She's been trying that for 2 years now. She's been coming to the tours. So again, it's a lot of fun to mess with her, but again, I do it because I've been booted out. So I say we get right into why I've been booted out of here. What do you say? That's the fun part, right?
Yeah, I would really love to know this, if I'm being honest.
So, it's residential at the end, like I said. A couple of beautiful mansions down at the end of this. This alley didn't always come all the way through. It actually didn't come through to this side, which means that the bricks on the other side are older. So, yeah, I used to show off those bricks because they're sun-dried bricks from slave children. We have a full handprint from a slave child and a couple of fingerprint swipes in those bricks. Wow. So It's not a great piece of our history, but it does show how far we've come. That's why I used to point it out. However, I treat that brick the same way I do a grave. That poor kid is not staring at that damn brick in the afterlife. But everybody wants to put an EMF meter near it, or a spirit box, and try to do some kind of whatever to try to make contact. November 26th of 2020, a group just like this, they tried to do the exact same thing, right outside that brick, and it was right outside a gentleman's dining room window. He was not happy with me. He came out of his house basically screaming at me, asking what company do I work for, the whole nine. My daughter thought it was great because Dad's getting yelled at. So, it's residential. It's residential.
Yeah, it's someone's private
Private.
So I played the new guy card, and I said, sorry, we won't be back. However, November 27th of that year was Thanksgiving. I was a new guy on the block, and I can take holidays off now. I worked retail for over 20 years. I never had a holiday off, so I finally took one. November 28th, I got a phone call from the tourism office asking me to either reroute my tour or go down halfway like everybody else. I decide I'm going to reroute. I'm not going to put my group through trying to stay in half the alley around what I just told you guys. So, I don't know much about that story before we get into it, and it was a matter of, I don't like pirates. Pirates are not my thing. I'm a vampire guy through and through, and I didn't believe the ghost story up there to begin with. However, I tell my team, we're going to wing it. We're going to see what happens. Tickets were much cheaper back then. So, I take my group up there. Before I even tell them who we're going to be discussing, somebody hears the name Anne on a spirit box. I did not tell them we were going to be discussing female pirate Anne Bonny. When we get there, and I tell what I did know about Anne Bonny, somebody hears the number 300. I have no idea what the hell 300 means. I research it the next day. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. I'm like, damn it, now I gotta read a bunch of crap about pirates. So I've read, I don't know how many books about pirates. I continue to read books about pirates. I watch documentaries, I watch a lot of movies, and I may even play video games with pirates in them now, because I have to keep learning, because it's pirate lore. Nothing is accurate. So that is going to be our last stop. We're gonna have a stop in between there, just so you guys know, but the next stop we're gonna go to, I'm gonna rely on the spirit boxes or whatever's going on with them, because there's like 15 stories up there of what story to tell. If nobody gives me anything relevant, I'll get us prepped for the pirate female, Anne Bonny, across the street from where we'll be, and then we'll go investigate full on, like what we did with the Pinckney Mansion site with Anne Bonny, and we'll be able to spread out and be able to get a full reading on everything. So that'll be lasers, EMF, and readers, and everything will be in full force. So have we heard anything before we move on, or has anything showed up on your word list?
It was laboratory and appreciate and feeling and young.
Yeah. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Leslie?
I think it just went youngs when she said that.
Okay. So they were definitely young. He was 22 when he died, just so you know. The doctor, just so you guys know. I don't know how old Amanda was because there's no lore that will tell you who exactly she was. It just said that she belonged to a very prominent family in Rhode Island. So they kept that a pretty big secret. All right, let's move on to the next spot. We're going to go up this way. Okay.
Up here.
Huh?
Up here.
Grandma, do you think when we get home you could maybe both sew this down?
Yes. No, they don't iron on very well.
Yeah, the adhesive's not the greatest.
No. The only thing is, with putting it under the sewing machine, it's going to gum up the needle. Now that you've ironed it.
Kind of sounded like it was asking me a question. I don't know what it meant though, but it was like kind of sounded like it said, "Are you allowed with the run of encouragement?" Or something. Are you something with the something
Next
of
time
encouragement?
you get something like this, Betty, don't try to iron it on. Have Dad put the sewing machine out and go around the edge. Yeah, I know, but they don't do that well.
So I like to stop here before I have you guys have a seat. Just don't have a seat. Kind of preempted sit down. You couldn't wait for me to say sit down.
I'm sorry.
So the wall over this courtyard is the wall to Philadelphia Alley that we just discussed. Notice there's a gate right in the middle of it. So that gate, remember, the alley didn't always go all the way through. So that gate was actually designed to put there. So in the event there was a loser to a duel, they had a shortcut to get to the cemetery behind it. Let's think about that for a second. When I say the alley didn't go all the way through...
Is this a cemetery?
No, this is a courtyard.
Oh, where's this?
The cemetery is behind it. So we're going to discuss that. But I'd like to point out the gate because, again, if there's a loser, otherwise they'd have to go all the way down to Queen Street and bring the dead weight all the way around. And that just drags on time to go celebrate the winner with a pint. So they made that doorway. And it does have a wrought iron gate on it, so you can't go through it, and it's always locked. Because it does belong to the church. It's part of the courtyard. But that's the reason why that gate was put there. So let's go ahead and have a seat. So you guys paid me to go to work, and now I'm giving you a break. I'm a great employer. So,
It's like something.
have you heard anything on those spirit boxes before I get started? Tell me which stories I need to tell here. What have you guys heard?
Musician in sadness.
Musician. I got no musicians.
Impossibly.
Yeah, that's nothing. All right, so...
And she heard Charleston.
I throw those out. You're listening to Charleston Radio.
I know, that's why I wasn't going to say anything.
Behind.
Every tour, every ghost tour, except for this one, actually stops at that cemetery. I'm going to tell you why, but I'm also going to let you know I let them have it. In the event we can actually get close to it after we're done here, so we can get some video footage for a minute or two, I'll take us all up there so you guys can see it. But I let them have it because it's their one show and tell. Your guys' show and tell is all night long with your devices. So again, I try not to get in their way, but I still like to tell the story because things pop up around even this location. A couple of things about the cemetery. There's two sides to it, eastern, western. If you're from Charleston, you can actually get buried on this side. So Eliza's husband and her nephew are buried on the eastern side because they're both from here. So we do get things wrapped around either Charles Pinckney or Charles Pinckney. So the word, I won't even tell you what word comes up here because I don't want to put it in your brain. It actually showed up here yesterday. I was pretty happy with it. But anyway, if you're not from here, you go across the street. So your 7th Vice President, John Calhoun, he's buried across the street. They actually shuffled his sarcophagus several times trying to figure out where the hell he was supposed to go. They didn't know if he was from here or not. He ended up not being from here. He just lived here a very long time. You can actually visit that side of the cemetery during the daytime because they unlock the gates for you guys to be able to walk through it because there is a Vice President there. That's your second number 7 that I told you all about. When I get the number 7 all the time in the latter half of the tour, that's because obviously July 7th over there, 7th over here, we're going to have one more. I'll explain that once we get there. So let's talk about why every tour stops up there. There's a sign right inside the gate. It says there's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost. There's a reason for that. First off, I want everybody to kind of look over in that direction, kind of over your left shoulder. You can see the lights over the cemetery. There's a light specifically pointing at that sign so nobody tries to recreate what actually happened there. So let me tell you what happened. 1888, a young lady dies by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. Now, this is a staple ghost story for Charleston because, again, every tour guide stops up there. But we just talked about initials and how important they are. Sue's initials show up here all the time. Sue Howard Hardy. Very cheesy, very campy. I hate it, but I see it and hear it all the time. So again, I can't make this stuff up. I don't even like telling you that shh comes up on a spirit box. A lot of times teenagers don't listen to me during this portion because they're getting bored with the history, so they'll put both earbuds in, and somebody will say they use some just me, or SHH just came up, or something along those lines. We have seen her initials a lot. Back to her story. She actually dies 6 days after her stillborn child. That's the end of her story. However, the ghost story comes with 1987. A local photographer is taking pictures of all of our beautiful cemeteries, captures a full apparition in one of his photographs. But it's 1987. He doesn't know what to do with this photograph. He doesn't have the tech that we have now. He sends it to Kodak. Kodak is where we used to have to send our pictures for all the teenagers. So, yeah. They have no idea. They all think it's a bear. I don't know what that means. So, but anyway, Kodak doesn't know what to do with this picture either. But for guys like me, this thing is gold, but it is cursed. It is cursed to females. I'm going to show you all the picture. Females that handle it, even on your tablets or cell phones, you're going to have the same symptoms like what we talked about back at Big John's. The headache, the nausea, the dizziness. Pregnant females, probably not going to have a good pregnancy based on the gist of the story. I am not going to be the guy where somebody had a great vacation, and 9 months later, I cursed your family because you touched my tablet. So, doesn't matter. I still give that heat warning anyway. So I'm going to show the picture. I am going to go down the line so that everybody can see it, because I do like to zoom in on the actual picture.
Give me that look, Callie.
Small awareness.
Very small awareness. Jacob? Jacob is it? I'm not recognizing what.
Is that right there the baby basket? I thought that was a shoulder. That's a whole lady. That's not Photoshop. That's just
Yeah,
there.
there's no Photoshop in 1987.
Well,
No.
I mean, it's on a.
Shit, I was wrong.
That's
Come on now.
unsettling.
So, full picture.
No, I see that.
Yeah, I like to blow it up because once you like get a little bit closer to it, it's very clear. And I've even zoomed in further on the baby basket. You can see the weaving of it.
And when you started showing it down there, it said bring her.
Last night it was confirmed, at least on the tour, because when I said I don't know if it was a boy or a girl, somebody immediately heard girl. So it was very interesting.
Sounds like it was a girl.
Yeah. Those are her shoulders. She is praying over her own grave. There's the baby basket next to her. So you're looking at her fat. She's like hunched over.
And less the ghost.
This is the apparition.
I heard it say Jacob.
Got goosebumps.
I don't know.
I got chill.
That's not Jacob. I'm going to write it down though, because that's a good one.
I'm pretty sure it said Jacob.
Interesting. You peeked at it 6 times, so I'm not showing it to you again. He looked every time I zoomed in. It was funny. Because it's cool.
I'll Google it.
Cool. In the event, we actually have something that comes up around this particular story, and I have to give you a link to be able to prove it. Your link will say first photo 1.
Sacred.
Just so everybody knows. That's better. Jacob, right? I need to write that one down. So everybody's attention to kind of turn over. If you can see past all the groups coming down this way, there's a flickering like gas lamp off in the distance. Right down there. Do you guys all see that? So that is the Pirate House. Pirate House. Who Jacob is, but I like when it's that loud and clear, and it's not a name I normally hear anywhere on the tour. So that's why it's sparked my interest.
It said a last name, but I didn't really hear it.
Alright, so the Pirate House is, first off, it has a big anchor on the front of it. So if you guys are walking around town, you can't miss it. You are on Church Street, just so you know. And somebody does live there, which is part of the reason why we're not going down there, because you can't go in his backyard looking for ghosts. He does get angry. Don't ask me how I know that. But it is one of those instances where I walk around looking for more portions to add to what we're doing out here. He's loving the fact that I get myself in trouble. Every time I see him, he's like chuckling his ass off. Very interesting.
Yeah, well, some of us know that little aspect.
It said government.
Hey, quit diming us out.
Jesus, that's tall.
Quit telling about us ghosting, okay?
As far as with that wall,
I didn't realize how tall that was.
Blackbeard men would come off their ships and they would actually like had drinks there. They had a place to sleep. The cool thing about that particular house is that they dug a tunnel underneath of it. Rock Street Theater sits now. What was there back then was a hotel called Playhouse. Playhouse and a hotel. So we're talking about pirates. Obviously, the Playhouse is an attraction. But the Playhouse, pirates were our first stagehands. They would actually go over there to work.
I kind of heard high
In
five,
between
but
bartering with the locals. That was the whole point of that tunnel.
what you would mostly find important is high five. I heard 7 earlier.
First off, some of us say that Blackbeard buried his treasure there. We all know that that treasure is in North Carolina, not South Carolina, if you know anything about pirates. So it's not buried here. The second rumor about that is that it actually went all the way out past Lake Point Garden to the tip of the peninsula. I'm going to call BS on that one as well. That's a long way for a crew of 40 to 60 men to be digging in the early 1700s to get into the city. That was the whole point that they said is why they dug it that far. I think it was literally to get over to Planters and that. Now, the rumor is that, well, it's not a rumor because we just filled it in the 1990s. So, yeah, this is not some kind of myth or legend. It was actually there. Why it took so long to actually fill it in, I have no idea. Because
Someone's pointing lasers up there.
we're below sea level. It
probably shouldn't be.
That's why I don't think it actually went all the way out. I have no idea what's actually happening.
They're journalists.
This feels like the middle of July to me. This is what it's on.
They're journalists.
That's what it said? Is that what it said?
So now that everybody's mindset is on pirates, we are going to go across the street and dive into this crazy-ass story of Anne Bonny. That is a hit-or-miss location, just so everybody knows. Anne Bonny is actually said to be seen all over town, so we actually have some activity that we're going to be good thing is that the story that I put together is based on numerous books that was consistent throughout the books. And it is a crazy, crazy story. So, let's go across and let's see what else we can go find across the street to get out of everybody's way.
Mansion.
Mansion?
Mansion.
It's a great big fire.
Great big fire.
So, yeah, sorry, this one's a crazy walk, so I'm going to take a quick break before we get into it. So I gotta get a little animated to keep you guys awake. I know, right? Wait for water, maybe vodka. So, first off, we're going to be. I come back here because I like to keep out of the way of the other tours, as I'm sure you guys have already picked up on. They do like to cut through this one and talk about. I'm not surprised you have a Spanish name coming through right now. That is. I don't know who the hell Santiago is, but again, I am not surprised. Like, your list is actually doing us a little bit of justice tonight. I'm impressed because it's been pretty weak over the past few weeks. So.
It's the user.
Sure, kudos to you. They love the hat. Maybe that's what it is. I think that's all the bad hair-based stuff.
Yep.
All right. Lily, I don't know who that is. So hang on to your interruptions for me so we can get through this lengthy story. Callie's like,
No, sorry.
oh, there's the restroom right there. You can use it.
Yep,
I don't
that's
mind.
where he's going.
That's why we record everything, in case somebody has to leave and come back or whatever. I don't give a shit. It's your tour. I'm still going to tell the same stories I tell every night, right?
I did, when we were by the pass where I whistled, it did say, come on, I just remembered that.
I would be more interested if you heard a whistle.
I didn't
Like songs from a whistle.
I didn't hear it.
I do hear Guns N' Roses' Patience over there, if you guys are familiar with that song. Or I'll hear that Maroon 5 song, whatever the hell that is. That Moves Like Jagger with all the whistling in it? Yeah. But I'll only hear the whistling part of it. So, very interesting stuff. But anyway, back to where we are. We're going to be discussing the little tiny building behind you with the crosses on it. First off, those are not crosses. Those are earthquake bolts. If you're not familiar with earthquake bolts, they're basically turnbuckles. In the event we have another earthquake, like the capacity that we had in 1886 that we've already discussed, which we haven't, at least not down here, then you can turn those turnbuckles, and it's supposed to help with the damage of the building. It's supposed to straighten it back up again. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work. So, you guys walking around Charleston, you're going to see it's kind of part of our Charleston charm. There's actually earthquake bolts in the apartment building behind the powder magazine. They just look like squares, but when you're walking around town, they're pineapples, lion heads, all kinds of craziness. It's just part of our charm. They don't actually work. So, the reason I bring this up is because those are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charlestown put in. Why? Because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713. Notice I said government building. Doesn't mean it's the oldest building. There are other buildings older than this one. But we talked about the Charlestown walls earlier. Where that parking garage is behind you is where the wall stood. So it went up Cumberland Street and past the powder magazine and started going south behind me. The reason for that is because it locked it into the corners of the fortified wall. If it gets attacked from pirate ships or Revolutionary War ships from 3 blocks away, the furthest away that they can keep it and still have it protected, those cannonballs are going to have a hard time getting through the 32-inch thick walls. So it has gunpowder in it. In the event that it actually goes through and blows up the gunpowder, there's sand in the roof from the early 1700s during its construction time that's supposed to go up in the air with the explosion and fall to put out the fire of the gun.
Why would you put gunpowder in the first place?
You gotta hold it somewhere. They had to move it all the time. So again, that sand idea is another great idea, but it doesn't work either. We had another powder magazine closer to the battery. It did get attacked because the geography says it's much closer to the water. The sand went up, but the building burned to the ground. So it doesn't exist anymore. This building actually served in 7 different wars. There's that number 7 again. The Civil War was its last servant, just so you guys know. It's a museum now. If you ever need to get out of our heat or cold, it's a great spot to spend $5. So, it's very historic. Anyway, we are here because this building is a familiar. It's kind of like using a toy to attract a child ghost. This building was being built in the same time frame that Anne Bonny moved here. That story starts in 1708, but I want to point out that this government building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? 10 years, small building? No, not at all. So, only 10, right? 1703 to 1713 was the construction time. 1708 is when Anne Cormack moves here from Ireland. She's with her father and his mistress. Follow me, guys. There's a lot of twists on this one. The mistress is her mom. Are you guys with me so far?
Okay.
The three of them are running away from his wife. How mad was she? Just pointing it out. So, you have to leave the country and get on a boat and leave your entire country behind. They land in Georgetown, just north of here. Dad buys a plantation, mom dies pretty quickly. That means he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation and keep things afloat. Anne back home in Ireland was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when Anne was only 10 or 12 years old with a knife to the belly, like just stabbed her to death. So, I want that mentality in the back of your brains as we go through the rest of this story. We're going to fast forward. Building's done in 13. Pirates are coming through town in 1715. Anne is stoked. She's about 16, 17 years old at this time. She falls in love pretty quickly. First guy, number one guy, James Bonny. You can already see where this is going. Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. They run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonny. Obviously, this is not the pirate that she wanted. This guy is a privateer. He is not the swashbuckling, rum-drinking kind of Captain Jack Sparrow guy that we all hope to see. So, with that, this guy's a privateer, a spy for the British. He's a coward. This isn't who she wanted. A few years later, she falls in love again. Guy number 2. This turns out to be John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is the same Jack that they based Captain Jack Sparrow, the character, off of. So, we will call him Jack through the rest of the story. Jack has his own ship, and Anne wants to be part of it. You cannot put a girl on a pirate ship because girls curse pirate ships. They'll put a curse on the ship. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and hide your gender, you can be a female in my quarters. He's the captain. That's how it's going to go. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, all right, I'm a pirate. Let's go. Most of us are pretty much close to adults. Let's put 2 and 2 together. She's being a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a female. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby. These are friends of mine. They'll help you out. Come back later. We'll figure it out. She has the baby, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to this child. She's also dressed like a female. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender. This makes Jack pretty angry. While she was away giving birth to his first child, he captured another pirate crew and they're down below deck. Anne's going to go flirting, because that's what Anne does. She's going to make Jack even more mad. This is guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females dressed like males on the same pirate ship. This is absolutely unheard of for this time frame. This young lady's name is Mary Reed. The 2 become friends, possibly lovers, we'll never know for certain, and they become friends. She convinces Mary to become part of the crew, but the British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet of ships to take down one pirate ship. Anne and Mary are the only 2 pirates, not drunk, to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks against the fleet of British ships. Now, they're obviously going to get taken. 2 ladies with 1-bullet flintlocks are not going to take on a bunch of other ships. As they're being arrested, Anne looks at her beau and captain, Jack, and says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up here quite often. That's a very big key word. The judge wants to see the 2, which, by the way, the judge's name is Nicholas as well, so when my name shows up here, which is quite often, it's one of 3 ways. We'll explain that later. But anyway, he wants to see the 2 men that fought back so valiantly on their own after he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken pirates that wouldn't come up and fight. So they're already dead and gone. The 2 ladies go in front, they reveal their gender. He does not care that they're female. He's still going to hang them because they're still pirates. "We plead our bellies" was the last thing they said, meaning they're both claiming to be pregnant. You cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. He sends them both back to jail and delays the hanging. Dad is still here in Charlestown area with all of his Irish money. He was an attorney back home in Ireland. So he bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries. That's guy number 4. Yes, we're going to count Mary Reed, but it's only husband number 2. She has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. I know, very abrupt ending. You guys were not expecting that. Mary Reed, she died a year later, 1721, in the Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imagination. I'm sure it was bumpy and gross and scurvious and whatever else you guys come up with. Now, I left out 2 things here. You guys all know what you're doing at your devices by now. I'm not going to give you a plethora of questions like what we did at the Pinckney Mansion. I'll give you 2 just to get started. I left out the name of Anne Bonny's parents. That would be the father and the mistress. I also left out the name of Calico Jack's ship. Those are the only 2 things that I left out. So I'm going to take one more minute of your time because I told you at the beginning of this tour, she was all stoked for the laser. She's like, I couldn't wait. I told you at the beginning that people have passed out on this tour. This is a story where it's actually relevant to the story. So give me another minute and a half of your time. I brought a group back here, just like you guys are standing right now, back in September of last year. The kid next to me turns white as a ghost. Yes, that pun was intended. I have to pick him up by his armpits so he doesn't hit his head on the ground, and his boyfriend picks him up on the other side of him. We carry him over to that brick wall because there's a little ledge there, which is where we're going to end, by the way. And he sits down. I send him over to the vending machines with a couple of dollars to get him water. He comes back. He's feeling better. I then tell the story. It's important to know they had no idea what you guys know now. They pull me aside after I spread everybody out with their devices. We have to tell you something. Like, what's going on? We are 2 transgender males, meaning I had 2 females dressed as males, just like Anne and Mary, on my tour. It made complete sense to them as to why one of them nearly hit his head on the ground when he entered the space. This is, again, I'm a good writer, but I can't make this shit up. There's no way. So, again, they're perfectly fine with me telling my groups every single night why I give the heated warnings and why the weird, uncanny things that I have no explanation for when we get to spaces like this. So, cameras, you can go to the front of the powder magazine. So if you guys want to exit like straight behind you, make a left, go get some footage of the front. That includes lasers. You can put your lasers in the front lawn. EMF detectors. This is not the Pinckney Mansion site. You are not going to get massive readings like what we were getting before. If you get anything, I will be excited. That means something else is probably going off. The closer you get to the corners and those bushes in the front, the more of a likelihood you're going to get a false positive because of the parking meters on the other side and the 2 electrical poles in the corners. So, spirit boxes, it's all about you again. Spirit boxes are always all the time. Cameras, if when you're done up the front, if you want to check to see if there's no tours by the cemetery and you want to go get us some footage, go. Spend a few minutes. The only thing I ask with either end is don't get in the other way of other tours. I'm actually going to go chill on the wall over there and smoke and wait for you guys to tell me all the shit you're catching. You guys paid me to go to work, so let's do this. We're going to stay out of the other way of the other tours.
Oh yeah? Is that where we're going?
You can. Again, you're on your own at this point. I'm going to chill at the wall and pull everybody in when it's...
No, wait, what?
Yeah, no, this
You got to press it.
That door's been remodeled.
Yeah, it is. Almost. The wood probably totally deteriorated over the years.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine trying to put those bricks up 26 inches deep? I mean,
You have to use some kind of lever system to get those moved around.
Yeah.
Or some really big guys.
Yeah. You want to change?
Press the button and point. Can't do too much damage if I drop it either.
Yeah, that's true.
$21081. I'm making sure I don't forget it.
It said the number? Huh?
Yes, you have better lighting.
Everybody will start making our way towards our next stop.
Yeah, no, just the same thing, so.
Anybody staying at Bill's house tonight? Probably for the best.
Really stop myself. Exactly, you're right.
Cool though, huh?
It's just a cemetery. Interesting that he picked up a apparition, but the likelihood that you'll find that now.
Yeah.
It's too commercialized.
Yeah.
And they got a light in there so that it won't pick it up anymore.
Yeah.
Kind of overkilled it.
I don't know. I thought it was going to be different. I don't know how, but
I find it weird that we're in areas of non-toured, so it leads me to believe that that what he's doing is not exactly sanctioned through Charleston. Does that make sense?
yeah.
And so we end up in a lot of parking lots. I mean, it's a cool idea. I mean, it makes money.
Yeah.
And you give people a lot of cool little devices to play with.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see an issue with it, but the reason he can't walk down certain hallways and stuff like that is because it's not sanctioned by Charleston. Because they want their money out of it. Yeah. Oh, you're going to put on a tour? Oh, well, we need a little bit from that.
Yeah.
We need to, we need to pick your pocket too.
I just don't know if it was worth $45.
I got the most in the first place.
Tell them about your grandmother's ghost.
That's a high five. I'm sorry.
Did you ever see it?
The ghost?
Corey did.
I was too little.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Corey's a
No,
Team Amber.
If y'all were lesbian lovers, let me know. That's what I said. And then I heard the word.
He used to appear to her all the time.
And I was like, that's pretty crazy.
Okay, there's my dad.
Cool. Birthday girl? Mike.
And 5 a lot? Yes.
5 is obviously we talked about the number.
This is 11. Hello. It's showing me 11. And I wasn't moving it.
It gave me a lot of 5, and there were 5 kids.
And like I was, giving off that energy, like, bro, show me purple, and I saw purple over there, and I wasn't moving it at all. And it showed me purple.
Oh, that's right. You don't do anything.
I have arthritis in my knees.
Arthritis? No.
What did that
Y'all
girl
know
just say?
what I
That girl just said
No.
arthritis.
You ain't old. Arthritis is old.
Girl dying. They were lesbian lovers. Confirmed fact.
Based on a story that somebody provided.
No, I asked them if they were lesbian lovers. I heard it's true. I was like, oh my god. He said we're so upset. They're upset. Cool. They are upset. They're hanging out with us on God. They're hanging out with me and Haley.
No other crazy reading.
Yeah.
Let's kind of regroup. Talk about some of the things we have here. Get to the answers. And this was our last stop, everybody. I don't know if I mentioned that, but
20 years.
Tremors.
very excited about Jack showing up. So we'll see what comes up out of the cameras. The 11 is also very exciting for this space. Again, she's way too far away from the electrical poles. Again, I'm going to do mug shots again, so that way you guys can see who we were actually hunting. First off, I'd like to point out that the picture I'm going to show you of Anne Bonny is one of the few pictures you can find of her with a shirt on. The reason why is because she used to bare breast to show men that she just killed, that they were just killed by a woman. So again, I also like this picture because it shows off the flintlocks that they used to use during those times. I want to say that this one is actually off because the flintlock actually evolved. They probably would have been using duckbills at the time, which means it had a much wider end to it. Yeah, we're going to keep that thing running. I want to see if we get another photo. So, Anne faded away. The name of Anne's parents: William Cormack, Mary Brennan. You guys were not expecting another Mary in the question. So again, as far as the answers go,
Yeah, like I wasn't moving it.
Mary. Keep that thing as still as possible. Very interesting indeed. I also like to show you Calico Jack. Because Calico Jack was named that because of the jackets that he wore. So the jackets he wore came from the men he killed, which would have been British people, British captains, British politicians. That's why he was called Calico Jack. The name of his ship was called the Kingston. We want to see purple, not blue.
I've been telling them both of that because I like blue and
Well, let's be stern with the damn pirates and tell them what we need. We need
like
purple.
I started with blue.
Purple, damn it.
As far as the Kingston, I'm not expecting Kingston to come through on a spirit box. I do expect the word King to show up.
I heard king.
We had King show up just a few nights ago on the word list. It was very exciting, so I'll be writing down the one that we heard on yours. So again, this was actually about an average night. It was actually kind of nice to see. I was telling Crystal, like the past couple of nights have been really light. I don't know if it's because we have every single device out tonight, but my groups have been anywhere between 2 to 8 this past week, and the actual evidence was really light. And I hate to tell people, like, hey, you did all this work and everything's light, we'll see what I come up with in the morning. But I also want you to remember that 40% is caught in the field, 60% is caught through the media review. So that's where it gets exciting, is when I give you that link back tomorrow morning. I'm going to stop your audio at this point. That's going to give me a gist of how much data you're actually going to get back. So So that way you know how much work I'm giving you. So once this guy sets up, it has to connect. So it actually runs from my phone, in case anybody was wondering why I'm staring at my phone. The voice recorder's on my bag. So 2 hours and 19 minutes. So you're going to definitely have about 8 to 9 hours worth of data. Like, plus all of the reading I'm going to give you, you probably have a 14-hour workday ahead of you. So, yeah, that's not a joke. That's real life.
Long.
Long.
I
So,
quit.
You quit?
I quit.
Well,
We're
you
always
paid me,
working
so
when we're
I'm
together,
good.
though.
Damn it. I'm supposed to be the boss.
Not tonight.
A lot of you guys are asking me about all of the extra things that I do. This podcast and the links to the blog post for each podcast episode, because yes, I do post all the evidence. It's going to be at the top of your data page, plus all of the links to my fiction work and all of that mess. Only because some of you guys were asking about it. Again, I don't do self-promotion unless somebody asks what my real job is, which I find absolutely hysterical. So, a lot of times people will meet up with me. I'm like, so what do you do during the daytime? I'm like, I write books about death. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I own this company. Like, this is my everyday life.
Future.
So, wow, that thing is amazing tonight. We did get the name Jack on there in case you guys all missed that. Like, that's pretty exciting stuff, too. And I have had the term Calico and Jack show up here at the same time. Yeah. So, I'm going to start collecting devices, and you guys can start asking me a million more questions.